Good evening. Welcome to the Meet the Candidate Night here at Bucyrus High School. I am James Macera, the news director for the North Central Ohio Media Group, which includes WQEL, WBCO, and CrawfordCountyNow.com. Big thank you, first and foremost, to Bucyrus Firefighters Local 1120. They are the presenters for this evening. They're the ones who made this all possible. So we'd like to give a big thanks to them first and foremost. Up first, we're going to have a kind of question and answer type format for the mayor candidates for the city of Bucyrus. We do have 4 candidates in the Republican primary, and that is who's going to be up here. We won't have a Democratic side this evening due to the number of candidates in that race. Come the general election, I believe there is going to be another one of these once we get to the general race as well, come the fall. So first, the very first question, hopefully easy, is to please share who you are, your name, and your previous employment and any experience either as an elected official, a civil employee, or any other position that you feel is relevant to the mayoral position you're seeking.
Hi.
Can you hear me? There we go. That's better. My name is Jenny Vermillion. I have spent the last 8 years as your county commissioner. That being said, I've had a lot of experience down at the State House with my Commissioners Association fighting for Crawford County. I intend to do that as well for the city of Bucyrus. I liken this event to a job interview. We're all going to answer questions. It's going to be up to you guys and the rest of the voters to decide who you believe can get the job done. I'm willing to get in there and fight for you guys. I intend on having an open door policy. I had that when I was commissioner. I made myself available to the townships. I went to their meetings, and I was wholeheartedly into that position, and I will do the same for you as mayor. Thank you.
Should we turn it off every time or just?
No, we can pass you.
Okay.
Yep.
Good evening. I'm Louis Katona III. I was born and raised in this town, born right down the street at Stars Hospital. I've lived here my whole life. I've done a bunch of things that had to do with public service, but not as an elected official. From the time I was 7 years old and a Cub Scout on up through an Eagle Scout. Anybody around in the town back in the olden days, about 1976, remembers all the fire hydrants that got painted up by little soldiers. I spent an entire summer doing that. It was one of the things I wanted to do as the Boy Scouts to help celebrate the bicentennial. So that's where I kind of got my start. From there, I've served as a law enforcement officer for 36 years now, a medic for 25 years. I was on a military search and rescue team as the commander for 10 years as the head of the diving operations. Some of you might remember many years ago that we pulled some people out of the Charles Mill Lake Dam. I was one of those guys in that dam. That was not a nice time, but done a lot of that stuff over the years. Worked for the FBI doing that. I've worked in law enforcement all over the United States for state, local, and federal agencies. And of course, most of you probably know that I've been selling real estate for 40 years. I actually got licensed in high school. At the time, I was the youngest realtor ever licensed. And then they changed the law, so people wouldn't do that anymore. But, so I've been around, like I say, public service and also small business for a long time. A lot of you might know I've taught over 7,000 of your fellow citizens the concealed weapons permit course. And I'm very active with all the local charities. Camp Michael being the #1. I'm the president of the board out there now for the last 10 years. I've been on the board 20 years. Working with United Way. We're doing all kinds of stuff great out at that camp. As a matter of fact, there's a great big charity gun show on Saturday. You guys can come out to help raise some money for the camp. But raised a bunch of Eagle Scouts, 840 Boy Scouts in 20 years as a scoutmaster in the town. I think we got to really do whatever we can with these youth to turn them into leaders. There's a lot less leaders out there than there was when we were growing up, and we need to keep that up. So I think I got a lot of experience in a lot of different areas, the real estate, the infrastructure, all the stuff you do for the city, permits and everything. I've done that for 40 years too. So anyways, thank you very much for attending.
Yes, thanks for the opportunity for all of us to speak. I'd like to commend all the candidates for being willing to serve the city. That came upon me in 2014. My name is Jeff Reeser. I'm your current mayor. I took over and when the city of Bucyrus had an unfortunate event that happened out of the blue. Roger Moore, our previous mayor, passed away after a city council meeting. And I'm among other people interviewed for the job, and it was a time when in my life that I was getting ready to run for city council to do community service to the community that I was born and raised in and graduated from high school, and it was a time for me to pay back for all the good things that this community's done for my family. So it's been a wonderful experience. I love being the mayor. I think we've got a very, very strong record. We've moved Bucyrus forward in a lot of ways, and certainly have a lot of plans for the next 4 years. My background primarily was in retail business. I'm part of a family business. I was 7 years old last year. So in 1976, when you were doing fire hydrants, I was graduating college. I'm a little older, but right after that, I went to work at a company called F&R Lazarus for 2 years, and came back into family business. And it's been we're in the home stretch now on that. But you learn a lot in the family business, and especially in the retail business, as Michael was well aware too, that it's all about service to people. A good mayor, a good council member, a good service director. They're all about service, about what can we do for the citizens, what can we do to make this community better. That's been our motto. We think we've done very well at it. Certainly not an easy job. You're not ever going to make everybody happy, especially in this day and age of, everything's kind of stirred up nationally, and it kind of creeps down locally. But we keep a very positive attitude. Bucyrus is a community that's on the rebound. Rural America has struggled somewhat with population loss, but we think we've made some changes that are going to really pay off well for us in the future. And I'll turn this over to Mike so I don't wear out the microphone.
Thank you, Jeff. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It's a real privilege and an honor to be sitting here right now. A lot of people know me probably. I'm a local person. I've been around Bucyrus my whole life. I believe in Bucyrus. I've worked with all the people in Bucyrus, or pretty well most of them, here and there. First of all, being the mayor of the city of Bucyrus is a commitment, and I am totally committed to making the Bucyrus better. I want to support the local business people. I've been in business myself. I know how important that is to people. We need to support the local business and quit going to Mansfield and Marion shopping. Shopping here supports our local tax structure. I want a better Bucyrus. I feel I'm the man for the job. I believe in Bucyrus because I've been here my whole life. I've heard people talk. They talk about this, they talk about that. I've never been mayor. I know a lot about business. I know how to get things done. I believe in listening to what the residents of Bucyrus want, and I'm going to do everything in my power to turn this around by offering tax incentives to outside businesses, which therefore will increase our tax dollars. It'll promote housing. It'll help our water situation. The more people that get on the water flow, the better the water condition's going to be for everybody. And I know that there's a little bit of a drug problem in Bucyrus. I believe in supporting, this is something else that I was thinking about on the way in tonight. A lot of people, when they look at a city, they look at the fire department, they look at the police department, they look at security. I believe that that is very, very important to the city's growth. We need to support the fire, we need to support the police, we need to pull together and make this town a lot better than what it is now. Now, it isn't like Jeff has done a bad job, I think he's done a fantastic job. But I feel with my business ability, I can do more. And I just want to thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you all for your introductions. While we go now into the main questions in this Q&A format, just a brief reminder that this is a Q&A format, it is not a debate. So hopefully the candidates will let you know a little bit about themselves. And at the same time, then we ask that any audience participation, we'll leave it that way, be kept to a minimum. After each question is answered by all four candidates, you may give an applause if you feel the need to at the end of that. We want to make sure that we can hear what every candidate has to say and not overlap each other with applause for the previous candidate, or hopefully there is not too much negative responses, because just please remember that all four candidates are up here because they feel strongly about the success of this city. And so let's keep that in mind then while we proceed to these questions, many of which were submitted by Bucyrus residents. And so we will go ahead and get moving right into that. The first question is, how do you feel you support locally owned businesses, and how do you plan to continue to promote locally owned businesses if you are elected into office?
Who do you want to go first, because we were voting directly? Okay.
And then we'll mix it up.
How do I promote local business, and how do I plan to continue to promote local business, and if I'm elected to office? Well, I spend most of my money here in town, so that's supporting local business. I am a former business owner myself. My husband and I owned the Stehr store out on Mansfield Street for a number of years. During the flood, I worked my tail off to help my fellow citizens. I intend to do that as well as mayor. Patronage is probably the biggest thing that you can do to support your local business. Bringing new business would be a priority. There would take a multiple faceted effort with tax incentives, as Mr. Alana said, variances for zoning, whatever it would take to get business into Bucyrus is what it's going to be done and what has to be done.
Yep.
I've supported local business my whole career as a realtor. We buy pallets of candles off of Crossroad, all kinds of jams off of Cooper's, tons of stuff from the Copper Kettle Works, for gift baskets and stuff, promotionals. I try to keep all my money in town, Vassals, printing, signs, t-shirts, hats, whatever I can do. I like to keep it all in town as much as possible. I do a lot of things at a smaller level. I go out of my way, my dad also ran a gun shop for years, and I go out of my way to pay every local business in cash. That sounds like a tiny thing until you start paying 2, 3, 4% on credit cards. My dad would never take credit cards because of that percentage. And so I make sure every local business, whether I'm getting a haircut or I'm buying a watch battery at Lay's, I pay them in cash. So they don't have that little fee. It adds up at the end of the year. So I try to do little things like that. When I'm out traveling all over the United States, I'm taking Carly's bratwurst with me, I'm cooking them, and I'm giving them away and giving them a brochure from Bucyrus at the same time. I've had piles of that stuff from Bucyrus. I've done that for years in my motorhome. I'm proud of the town where I come from. I like to talk about it, and it gives you something nice to talk about around campfire. And, but you really need to really look inward and spend all the money you can in town. How can I expect local people to buy a house off of me if I'm not also going to their businesses? The way I've really supported local business in this town is we've brought a bunch of businesses to this town over the years. And I've done every one of them by personal contact. The Holiday Inn people, they stopped at my office on a Saturday morning looking for directions. I was up doing paperwork. They said, do you mind if we have a little snack in our van in the parking lot? And I said, heck no, come on inside, the air conditioning. They sat there and talked to me. I said, what are you doing? We're driving across the country putting Holiday Inns in. I know a location for you. Got back in their vehicle, showed them the location. Monday morning I got a call. They said, we're gonna buy that, put a Holiday Inn there. We'll send in a courier with a cashier's check. My mom looked at me, if you know Sharon, goes, yeah, sure they are. And 3 hours later, a guy showed up and you've got a Holiday Inn Express. And that's the way it works. You've gotta pounce on those personal contacts. I know we're all into this cell phone and email and all this, but I still think there's nothing. I know as the mayor, I'm gonna give you a personal call back. I think it's very important to make those contacts with people. They still wanna hear. Doesn't mean you're gonna get a call back in the next 15 minutes, but I do what I do with real estate. Before the end of the close of business, I call everybody back for that day, at least to make the effort. Sometimes I'm up there till 9 o'clock. Big deal. That's what you gotta do though. So, but there's a lot of ways to support your local business, and I encourage everybody to do it as much as possible. So, thank you.
Yeah, they both made some great points. You gotta be in the businesses, let them know you support them. Coming from a 70-year-old business, the guys that are in business today, it's a little different. It's not easy. You have a lot of competition. I'm talking about retail and in general right now. But the ones that are in business today are really, really sharp. They have to be today. And you have to, you're drawing from a wider range. Okay? Not just like in the old days when people would drive up and stop and shop all up and down. It's all destination now. So like a place like, I'll just take Carly's for instance, draws, since you brought it up, they draw from a wide range, and all the local businesses have to do that too. You gotta go to Gallion and Mansfield and Marion. That's how you have to survive as a retailer. Downtowns are being driven today by unique places, in particular food, restaurants and those types of things. Ours is no exception, and our future of our downtown is going to be, I think, driven right, at least in the near term, by retail food establishments. So wherever we go, if we stop someplace, a lot of times we'll leave a card and ask them to consider opening a place here. Now, as far as for larger businesses, it's all about the relationships. The ones that we have here, we got to make sure that we keep them. So we visit them, we talk to them on the phone. What can we do for you? What are your needs? It's all about creating relationships and making sure that the services that they need are provided by the city up to our ability to do so. We want to make sure we have a good water supply for them, which we just built a new water plant. We can't attract industry without water, right? So we are positioned to attract more industry. We have the Ohio Crossroads. We're one of the few certified food and beverage sites. We had that accomplished here a couple of years ago. They're not going to come in here unless the city can provide water for them and infrastructure. We have it, so we're ready. And it's all about working together. A mayor doesn't do it by himself. I mean, it's a team effort. It's not just the mayor, it's the economic development driver too. We make those contacts, and we make contacts with Jobs Ohio, and hopefully good things happen. We've been very, very blessed. We have low unemployment here. Our economy is doing very well. Yeah, there's issues, right? We have some issues with some of the jobs, but we're addressing those too. So we're looking to the future. It's a matter of staying the course and continuing to work and develop relationships. I think both of you mentioned that. So here you go. You're up.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. Local business is no doubt the backbone of any town, like Bucyrus. I think the city needs to encourage new business, even small business, to be a big part of our town. If you go into First Federal Community Bank and you look on the wall in there, you look at Bucyrus, and I can't tell you exactly what year it was, but you see all these little businesses that were just booming back then. There's no reason why we can't do that today. The city needs to encourage small business growth in the city of Bucyrus. I feel that with my expertise in business, I think once a month we should promote local business, not just do it on candlelight night. At Christmas time, I think it should be done 12 months out of the year. And I think if we promote that properly with the local businesses, they're gonna be totally into it. Why wouldn't they be? Getting business back in Bucyrus is the key thing. I feel that we have the ability to be able to do it. It's like Jeff mentioned, we have the water supply, we have all the utilities here. What we need to do is just push it a little bit farther. And like I said, I'm totally in on this thing. And with my business ability, which I had a small TV and appliance store uptown, I was very successful in that. Unfortunately, my wife got cancer and she passed away back in '08, or I'd still be up here today, because she was my partner in crime. But business is what makes a town. And Bucyrus is a great community. There's a lot of really, really good people in this town. It's time to pull together and move forward for a better Bucyrus. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Kind of to go on a point that many of you made, bringing business to the city was a key point mentioned by I believe all of you. And with that in mind and maybe additional things, how do you plan or what is your method of bringing more revenue to the city? Or on the other side, are there expenditures that you believe could be cut? And Mayor Reeser, we'll start with you.
So can you just, so that's a two-part question, I think. I think I heard that as a two-part question. What
resources? Can you just kind of repeat that? I know they're both kind of very important questions, so let me have you repeat them one more time.
Okay, go ahead.
The first half, I guess, would be, how do you plan to bring more revenue to the city? Or on the flip side, are there expenditures that the city currently faces that you believe could be eliminated?
I got it. So
Bringing more revenue to the city is a matter, I think it's a function of population. And when I interviewed for the job, they asked me, what's the number one problem facing Bucyrus right now? And I said population drop. So when you go from 14,000 to 12,000 people, it affects everything. You know, it affects your tax revenue, it affects school systems, it affects your businesses. So we need to find a way to reverse population decline. And if we can stem that, and we've been working on it with a plan, it's not going to happen overnight. But as your population grows, just the same way in every business. As your business goes, your customer count grows. You're going to see the effects in city coffers. And when city coffers increase and we sell more water, we'll be able to provide more services. So it's all comes right down to population growth. Now, are there any cuts? We made a lot of cuts with Mr. Wagner's expertise. We saw some areas that we thought, okay, we have 14,000 people. We're running this city with the same staff, and now we're down to 12,000. That doesn't make sense. It's very difficult. You don't add or decrease staff like this. You have to do it in kind of in chunks. That's how it works. So we saw some areas that we thought we could save some taxpayers a substantial amount of money. So we were able to combine some jobs. We have our new water superintendent here, Mr. Chad Slagle. It's here, he just took over. But we're working out there with one less person. and we're saving a substantial amount of money too, still providing a safe, valuable product. We also combined other jobs in the city over the last 3 years, and we made some changes in some of our benefit packages, in particular hospitalization plan that was had seen exorbitant rate increases over the last 10 years that outpaced our revenue. So we are saving annually to the city taxpayers fairly close to $400,000. Now you go over 10 years, that's $4 million. That's every year. So yeah, we've had to make some cuts, and still at the same time we provided a very high amount of service, both in our safety forces and our city services. So we're very proud of that accomplishment.
Mike?
I'll let you pick a side.
Okay, I'll let Mike go.
All right. Thank you, Jeff.
Is it okay?
Let me think about it. Yeah, I think that'll work. If I get over my shyness. I think that offering tax incentives to outside business is gonna be a key thing to get bigger business in Bucyrus. And like I mentioned before, that'll increase a lot. I mean, you look at people coming into Bucyrus, like Jeff said, the town is like at 12,000 people. Well, the more jobs that are in Bucyrus, the more people that are gonna come to Bucyrus, and we need to get some paying jobs in this town with the proper technique, which I have a knack of communicating with people to get this business thing flowing. I think that's gonna be the answer to our town. Getting high-paid jobs in here, more housing, more people, more population, and supporting all of that. And families coming into Bucyrus, you know, they're gonna have kids, they're gonna wanna go to school. We have a strong school system in this town, and I think people look at that. And the crime, like I mentioned before, the fire department, the police department, that's a key factor when people look at a town. I've never relocated myself, I've been here my whole life, but I think we have what it takes, and I just think that we need to just execute maybe a little bit more of that. So that's kind of how I feel about that, so thank you.
Well, I think the first thing you've got to do if you want to create more revenue, obviously, is look inward. We've got control of local businesses. You don't have control of Amazon. They're going to go where they want to. I hate to say that, but we've got control of local businesses, support them as much as you can. And if just each local business every other year increases with one employee, that's a bunch of extra tax revenue coming in. As far as outside businesses, we've got a severe housing shortage right now. I can tell you for a fact, it's about a 65-year low. It's pretty tough to attract businesses, executives and stuff when there's no houses for them to live in. We need to get that building going again. We need to start taking care of that issue. There is far more jobs then we've got people to fill them, I think, in a lot of cases. We need more high-paying jobs to keep our youth here. I think the fire department, police department, city workers, everybody's doing a great job. I personally think the fire department's understaffed right now. If anything, I'd like to see them get a more staffing, and I think the way to do that is, I'm thinking go back to EMS services. That'll give us some more revenue there coming in so we can afford a few more firemen. Because they are at a super low number right now. That's kind of scary if you guys really would look at it. I know from doing public safety for all these years, and it's low. So it's something, we're not having a lot of fires and stuff, but I think we can utilize those guys for other things too at the same time. And the best way to keep trained is to keep doing your job every day, going out and doing stuff. So anyways, I think we need to take some steps there. I think our city workers, I think at this point, are probably at about as low a staff as they're going to be able to keep going too. I think you guys are, Jeff, you guys have cut the fat for sure. There's not a lot of fat left out there. I think you need to watch every penny though. I know in a small business, these last few years were really tight for us, and we were watching every piece of paper and every stamp and everything it took to, you know, sometimes the best way to increase your revenue is to cut your expenses. And you've got to watch every detail and go from there, so thank you.
Bringing more revenue to the city would entail, as Mr. Reeser said, population growth. As Mr. Alana said, business growth. As Mr. Catona also said, cutting expenses. I'm not going to say anything you haven't already heard. Having been studying the budget, it always seems like when you're looking at paper, there's more that you can cut. There's more efficiencies you can impose. I would like to take a look at that more deeply. Revenue, I would be on the phone with, I can't remember their name, it just escaped me. Regional Growth Partnership, who is our umbrella for economic development. I would be on the phone with Mr. Fankhauser, Frankhouse, sorry, I'm getting my Franks and Fanks confused. I would be working with him diligently. I did when I was at the county. I would be on the phone with him all the time, working, promoting Bucyrus, showing what we have to offer. But the main thing that we need to really focus on is our utility costs. Our utility costs are high for this area. And the reason they're high, we have a new water plant that we have to pay for, which was EPA mandated. You know, there's a whole slew of why. There's things that could be done, water expansion, water sales. If you're looking at a business coming to Bucyrus and our water is $1 more per 1,000 gallon more than what they're getting somewhere else, where do you think they're gonna go? They're gonna go somewhere else. So we've got to get those expenses down to the point where we are attractive to a business. We also have jobs. There are jobs here in this county, but we don't have the people to fill them. They're decent paying jobs. They're not great. They're not your General Motors $25 an hour jobs, but they're jobs. We've got to be able to fill what we have, draw more, and be appealing to business.
Thank you. And the next question that was submitted by a citizen is utility bills, such as water and sewage and the likes, are a large concern for many residents. Do you have a short-term or long-term plan that would affect lower rates for the citizens of Bucyrus? And we will start with Mr. Catona.
Utility bills are a way of life. We've got to pay them. We've got a new water plant. Frankly, we've got enough water in this town to run a huge city. And I've been looking around at different issues on the utilities, mostly the water. And we definitely need to do something with the bulk water fill. I talked to I deal with a lot of those people with cisterns and all kinds of stuff, and all the water guys that fill the tanks out there. They say it needs to be increased. It's not fast enough. I don't know, maybe we need a coffee pot out there for them, something while they're waiting. But that's one of the few things I've seen, because we sell that water, we might as well sell it. It's just absolutely crazy to have them go to Galleon and other places to get it. And believe me, they don't want to when they're delivering it over here. But they gotta get it filled quick. Time is money with every job. And I think we need to look into that. We need to look at cost advantages versus not advantages of looking at putting water out into the county a little further. It's pretty expensive. I know they've done all that new washing and stuff, and I think we need to do another cost analysis to see if we can possibly pull that off. But, we've got to spread, the only way to cut the utility costs is to really spread it out to more people. And you can do that by extending water, you can do it by selling more water, you can do it by increasing your population base. But it's not brain science. There's only a few ways you're gonna be able to do it. And, we've gotta get that water plant paid for, and the sooner the better, in my opinion. So let's get it paid for and get that debt off our shoulders and move on with our lives. So, thank you.
All good points. I don't get to take credit for the water plant, or the blame, I guess, but the Jacobs administration and the Moore administration began that process. It was approved by a unanimous vote of City Council in 2014, and the idea to build it was done. The idea to pay for it was thrown in my lap. So now I thought we've done a pretty good job of it. Unfortunately, City councils, for whatever reason, and administration had decided not to raise water rates in this town for 12 years. So before we raised rates in 2014, there had been no water rates and very, very little bit of money saved back for a new water plant for 12 years. So we were behind the 8 ball, right? Can you all see that? When you have to buy it for a car or a house or whatever, it's got to be paid for. And we have been very, very fortunate. And I put this out, maybe many of you don't know this, but Jones and Henry, our financial planners and our engineers, had an economic proposal that it was going to cost us about $45 million for a $27 million plant over the time we pay it back, including interest costs. We hit it just right on interest costs. We were able to combine 2 loans into 20-year loans, a little bit over 1% interest, about 1.5% interest. That's amazing. So our total cost of the water plant is going to come in under $35 million, probably around $33 million. It's a fantastic benefit. Now we all have the pain, right? We pay the same rate that all of you do too. And our rates, we have been able to accumulate a little bit of money in that fund that we're using that to use for our shortfall in that fund for a few years. So we're going to try to keep rates at a minimum. Now, Jones and Henry by this time had rates about 25% higher than what they are. And Mr. Wagner can tell you that we've talked about this, and then Jones and Henry came in, and just was at that meeting too, and I stood my ground. I said, no, we're not raising rates. They said, yes, you need to raise rates. I said, no, we're going to have this amount here, and we have enough money. And I was right, So we have been very, very conscious of the rates. And I'm not saying there isn't pain, but when something is new like that, this is only the 3rd plant in the history of Bucyrus, it had to be done. Our generation has to pay for it. Now the other part of that is, at the same time, the EPA came in and threw a consent order at us. You're going to clean up the Sandusky River. We don't want any more of your sewage flowing through the Sandusky River, through the city of Bucyrus, through Upper Sandusky, Tiffin, Fremont, and then into Lake Erie. And this is what you're going to do about it. And they were adamant about it. And the Ohio EPA turned us over to the federal EPA because previous administration said, no, we're not going to do that. Well, we got turned in, and we, through negotiation, were able to move that out over about 30 years. The first part of that is the Southern Avenue trunk line, and now we're doing tie-ins, Group 1, Group 2, Group 3 sewers, with the goal of reducing raw sewage flow, and no one wants that through the Sandusky River. So our generation is under some stress, there's no doubt about it, but it's for the future here. Is to clean up make our river healthier, and also we can't live without water. We looked at some ways to cut expenses, even maybe dropping to one shift, but we have to have somebody. We make water pretty much most of the day, right, Chad?
All day long.
All day long, we make water. And regulations are that someone has to be there when we make water. Right? So we cannot eliminate a shift, and we looked at that. We looked at ways to cut that. We are not raising rates willy-nilly. We are conscious of what the burden is for this generation. And we're doing everything we can. And as Mr. Catona said, it's about selling more water. And that is the tack that we're taking. We've already went up County Road 35 picking up customers. We're up in Cascade for high school. We got a long-term plan out that way. We're looking at different areas to go out in the country. And the two-pronged effort of keeping our costs tight and selling more water will reduce the burden on all our utility customers. And in the meantime, know that you've got a great product coming out of our, we've got a great staff out there, and we're prepared for future growth with that fine water plant that we have. I think you're next.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Well, a lot of it goes back to the population in the city. Offering tax incentives to get more housing, to get more people. You know, we're blessed with the new water treatment plant, and it's good that we got it when we did, because later on down the road, it would have cost us even more money. Like Jeff said, with the interest rate that we got, we're not getting killed on that, but we're all gonna have to learn to live with that. And that's just part of progress. And I don't think there is a simple solution to it. Like everybody mentioned, that we need to sell more water. We need to get more people hooked up on the water supply, promote big business to come into Bucyrus. They're gonna use water, get more houses built in the city. Like Louis said, you know, there's not enough houses to go around. We need to start that all back over again, like it was at one point. And I think in reality, it will all take care of itself, but we're just gonna have to deal with it right now. I don't think there is, like Jeff said, there's no simple solution to what we have right now. We're just gonna have to all pull together and work through it and get things going. So that's, I don't wanna duplicate what was already said, but that's the way it is. There you go.
It's like a hot potato, isn't it?
Is it on? Here we go. Utility bills, they are what they are. I mean, everybody has to live with it, unfortunately, at this point in time. Expansion is truly the only way that we're going to be able to facilitate drawing more revenue in, to spread it out, to bring the bills down. Selling water. Right now, having been commissioner, we had Northern Ohio Rural Water coming in from the north. We've got Delco coming in from the south. There's a continental divide issue about the south, so that's pretty much all Delco anyway, but $250,000 annually goes out of Crawford County to those other agencies. Bucyrus needs to be a part of that. We need to be selling water to Northern Ohio Rural Water for expansion or expanding ourselves. That's the only way utility bills are gonna come down.
Thank you. There, in the city, there is a property maintenance plan, and the county has a land bank to deal with some less than properties in the city. Do you have an idea maybe how to accelerate the process of cleaning up these properties, or are there ways to better the maintenance plan for the city? And we will start with Mr. Alonis.
Lucky me. Can you hear me? Yeah. Lucky me, I get that toughie. Well, there's a lot of properties that are being torn down in Bucyrus, and I don't think anybody likes to see vacant lots. I mean, it just, to me, it looks horrible. I think a lot of that could be stopped by fixing what was there instead of tearing it down and promoting that part of the city. I think there's a lot of things that can be done on that part of it, but I don't really know exactly what to answer that with the tough question I got, but, we'll have to take a look at it. It's like when Trump took over as president, I don't think he had every answer. He wasn't a politician when he took over, but, I have the resources to be able to execute whatever needs to be done. So that's what I got.
Good job. My next person. We can bring you want next?
Thank you.
Well, having been on the land bank since its inception and part of its growth and progress, I would unfortunately have to disagree with Mr. Alanis. I would much rather see a grassy, clean lot than a dilapidated, rundown house full of rodents and all sorts of other unsundry things. An idea on how to clean up the properties. Right now, the land bank has exhausted its grant. It's operating on DTAC funds, which is delinquent tax money collected from the treasurer's office, which comes up to about $70,000 a year. Each house coming down averaged $22,000 to $25,000 a piece. So that's just basically three houses a year that the land bank can take down. Stricter code enforcement. I would advocate stricter code enforcement to bring these homes, force the owners to bring these homes into compliance, because some of the facilities that we have available to renters, you wouldn't make a dog live in. These houses are horrible. Their conditions are deplorable. It needs to be done. Yes, you're gonna have houses torn down, but I would much rather see green grass than a house falling in on itself. The house, for an example, over by the middle school, I'm sorry, it's elementary now, the old high school. It had 3 walls caving in and there were kids going in and out of there, and thankfully, Mr. Ratliff and the BZA got on the landowner and it was taken down. You're gonna have, heck, I was one of those kids going into places I shouldn't have been. Sorry, Dad. Every kid does it. We cannot afford to endanger our children with these dilapidated houses.
I have to disagree with you too, Mike. I love an empty lot because I'm putting a new house there. And that means after I put that new house in, I sell 3 more houses for all the people that move up. And that's how we make growth in this town. I put 50 houses in, we sell 150. So yeah, I love those empty lots. I have builders that are now contacting me from out of the area to come here and build. And they want empty lots. I also have some groups of folks on some of these older homes. There's actually things in those homes they want to use, historical things, stained glass, all the beautiful woodwork, and they will come in and rip that stuff out and take those houses down to get that lot. So there's some other ways besides just the land bank to get this to happen. I'm doing it in other parts of the state, and it's working just fine. But we definitely, Jenny's spot on. I'm in these houses all the time. I mean, these are 2 gun, 2 flashlight houses. You don't know what's in these places when you go in here. You're finding heroin needles laying on the stairs going down where there's people in there. There's, it's just absolutely awful. Black mold. Some of them, I've seen them when they went to tear them down, and all the houses surrounding that property now were filled with roaches within hours. You could see them going across the street, finding new habitat. So this stuff needs to come down. It's bad, and the sooner the better as far as I'm concerned. It's you don't have enough money to fix this stuff up today. It's not like it used to be. Expenses are outrageous, the materials and the labor, and you just got to take them down and move on. And you know, we're at limited resources. I think we could find some other ways to do it, but they do need to come down right away because it's just a blight on the whole town. Brings down everybody's property values in that neighborhood, and it just needs to go. So, thank you.
I'm gonna stick up for Mike. I think what Mike meant, that it's much better to fix up an old place if you have the resources of the houses, and I agree with that too, because I fixed up an old house and I love it. I love old homes have characters, but every generation has its challenges. One of the challenges thrown in our laps was the 2007-2008 financial collapse, which was rough on a lot of rural communities, and not just rural, but big communities too. So a lot of these houses fell into disrepair, and then are now just can't be fixed up. Thank God for the land bank. I also served on it with Jenny there, and Gary Cole's done a fantastic job on the land bank, and we feel like we've made some progress around town. The funds are exhausted, like Jenny said. We used the DTEC money, and that's going to be not going quite as far, obviously. But we also have a budget in the city. Mr. Ratliff has been instrumental in acquiring and tearing down properties. A good example is McFarland's. Lori McFarland fell in some health issues, a sweet lady, but I think everybody would agree that the town is a lot better off. As you go across by the golf course there, you have to see how much better that looks. And there's some other things, other buildings that we're addressing now that are going to be acquired and torn down too. Unfortunately, funds are limited, but a very important part of what we have done here is we now have in our budget, I think this is second or third year for Gordon Grove. Third year? Third year. Yeah, and he's doing a fantastic job. He's our building maintenance and property maintenance guy. And hey, we're coming into property maintenance season, guys, and that's when you're gonna see trash put out and couches and everything thrown out. And he is busy. But thank goodness we have him. Now there is it's more than just a phone call or a door hang or a knock on the door. We do a letter, send them a letter, we have to give them time, and we have to go to the court system if they don't respond. And I guess one of the things that surprised me the most about after I became mayor is that people don't have more pride in their property, especially landlords. And that's why Rob is trying to institute a building registration program. And I know we've had some resistance from some of the good landlords. I think that it's going to affect them. But it's really about making houses so they don't become, like Louis said, uninhabitable with needles and stuff. So these challenges are unique in our lifetime, but I think we're pointing in the right direction. We're doing a lot of work on it. We're making some progress. Just have some patience. We're getting there. Hopefully then the grant money then will be restored then by the federal government too. Wouldn't that be great? So we can accelerate that program too.
Thank you, and Mr. Mayor, you can actually keep that. We'll start this next one with you. Things such as communities coming to the school for athletic events and then going out to eat, the Bratwurst Festival, the Crawford County Fair, all examples of events that bring outside people into the community. Do you have other ways that you believe would bring more tourism? I know lake traffic seems to be a key phrase around, and do you have other ways that you believe could attract tourism and extra dollars, especially in the summer months?
Well, it's
A combination of many things. I mean, we've got the greatest festival in the state, there's no doubt, and it brings a lot of people in. We have a good tourism director too. Max Miller's doing a good job. We had a good line of tourism directors. One of the reasons, if you look around, like I mentioned earlier, businesses are crucial to bringing people from out of town. How many times do you go to one of our local restaurants and you don't recognize anybody? There was one of about 6 months ago, there were a bunch of people from Shelby and Bakers, and we were sitting in the back there, and I went over him and I said, "What's everybody from Shelby doing here? You guys got a tournament game or something?" He said, "No, we just love coming here to Bakers." And he said, "Well, who are you?" He said, "Are you the mayor?" I said, "Yeah." "Well, I guess I am." So I was, you know, unofficially greeting people and thanking them for coming. I know my cousins from Tiffin love coming here to eat at different restaurants that we have, and the activities that we have in this community are fantastic. I mean, for small communities, we've got a lot of good things going here. We have a vibrant downtown. We have an enviable downtown. Look at the buildings that we have. Things like Mr. I keep singling Mr. Ratliff out, but he's our movie guy, and that's coming up. I mean, that was so well attended last year. There's a lot of innovation here, you know, and a lot of people that want to make this town better. And it's First Fridays are just another example too. So we're trying to make just last weekend we had opened up All Miller Park to a U10 softball tournament. You know, so there were, I don't know how many teams. I was out there Saturday watching them. There was some very, very good softball teams. The park